On SG Now today, the death penalty. How do Singaporeans feel about it?
The unbearable burden of a caregiver. CityJo Bruce meets a woman caring for her schizophrenic husband.
Dream of being a sword-wielding superhero? CityJos Chris and Vic have found just the place for you.
Car park rooftop gardens are sprouting all over our island. CityJo Bruce discovers why.
Hello and welcome to SG Now. How are you, Sharda?
I'm doing very well. Guy, how are you?
I'm good and raring to go.
I'm always happy to be with you.
Ditto.
Okay, well, before we dive into our first story, we'd like to talk about our adopted charity for this month, the Caregivers Alliance Limited.
Caregivers shoulder burdens that are invisible to most of us, but public awareness is growing. The emotional burden and the physical demands they face are more than many can bear, and yet they must trudge on. Caregivers Alliance is a non-profit organization dedicated to meeting the needs of caregivers or persons with mental health issues. They run seminars, organize help groups, man crisis call lines, and teach caregivers on how to cope with caring and go on living at the same time.
It's a tough call, but when you know you're not alone, it helps. By next year, they want to reach out to 20,000 caregivers.
So if you're interested in volunteering or donating, we put a link to the Caregivers Alliance website in our program description.
Now, in 2009, 21-year-old Malaysian Nagaenthran K. Dharmalingam was arrested for smuggling approximately 3 tablespoons worth of heroin into Singapore. He was subsequently sentenced to death and has been on death row ever since.
Despite several appeals, Nagaenthran, whom his lawyers maintain has an IQ of 69, is due to be executed on April 27th, the day we upload this episode.
The court's decision to proceed with the execution has drawn criticism from human rights groups, EU representatives, and UN experts. However, in 2018, a study conducted by NUS found that, in general, the death penalty is supported by the overwhelming majority of Singaporeans and is credited for making Singapore one of the safest places in the world.
Dharmik and his teammates took to the streets to find out if Singaporeans still feel the death penalty is justifiable.
Hey guys, today's a beautiful day on our sunny island. The wind is blowing, the leaves are rustling, and we are going to talk about death. So why are we talking about death? Really simple. Just last week, there was a protest against the death penalty, the first held in 2 years, and held right in Hom Lim Park. And not only that, internationally we've been getting a lot of scrutiny about the death penalty and its ethics. I want to know what you guys think. The CityJos and I are out on the streets, hearing what you have to say. Let's go. Are you against or for the death penalty?
Against.
Yeah, against. Why?
I don't think we have the right to take away someone else's right based on their actions. Who are we to judge someone for their actions? And how are we above them to say like, okay, you did something wrong, and now I have the right as a government or a higher person to take away your life?
Absolutely not. Because no matter what anyone does, I think everyone deserves a second chance. Yeah.
Well, I am more, let's see how to put it. I am not against it, but also not for it as well, because I feel that the penalty should be the worst case scenario. It shouldn't be, okay, do this death penalty. You should give people a chance to give back to society as well, to fix, or rather for them to give back to society, for them to a learning experience to correct themselves and everything. And the death penalty should only be applied when it's in a serious case, like if it's a murder, a mass murder, and sorts of things like this, then you should do the death penalty.
I think it depends on the situation that the guy is in. If like, let's say like about drugs and straight go to a death penalty, that's a bit like inhumane. And let's say if like there's something more like explicit, like let's say pedophilia or something like that, then I think death penalty is it's a must to do to that guy. Because I'm really against like this kind of like sexual stuff.
Of course I am. Yeah. So I say depending on the degree of the crime and also the motive of the crime. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. But if it's drugs or that, I think maybe everyone should be, the person should be given a chance.
Definitely depends on the crime. But I think that life is so difficult, so should make them suffer and not kill them.
There was a protest against the death penalty held within Singapore.
I know, I was actually going to attend it, but I couldn't go because I realized that I'm just an international student over here and I didn't want to risk my chances of being seen there and then having to deal with the extermination of my student class.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I was kind of afraid of that, but I really wanted to attend and show my support because I do think that the death penalty is something that's really big, and you should really think about why the person did what he did and if he really deserved, because that's not justice, it's too much. He did it for his family, it was about so I think they need to take a better look at the reasoning behind these things and they need to be more fair.
If someone you hate or has done something wrong by you, okay, so they've done something to your family or something, right? If they were to be on the death row, right, up for the death penalty, would you change your mind
About
whether the death penalty should be enforced?
Yes, of course, because it's someone I know, someone I care about. But regardless of that, I feel like the punishment should fit the crime. If someone I'm close to really did hurt someone and assault someone, then I think prison is enough punishment. But unless it's something really, really bad, I don't agree with the government deciding who should die and who shouldn't die. I just don't think it's fair.
I think in that case, if someone unjust to me, I'll have a very biased response by saying, of course I want justice for myself. Like you feel this urge to get this revenge, like he needs to get the worst out of it because he done this to me. But at the same time, a part of me feels that I want my justice, not only for death penalty, I want him to correct his mistakes. What it's going to do for me, what's going to do for society.
It still depends on what he or she did, to be honest. Because my answer is like a bit of yes and no. Depends on the situation also.
Okay, nothing too extreme lah. By law it's murder.
Yeah.
But they had no choice in that situation.
Okay, if like that, then death penalty is, I'm against that lah. Because let's say if I need to defend someone, I have to kill that person, and I suddenly kena death row. It's a bit sad that I want to defend someone, but I'm the one who get the death row. So it's should I defend that guy if I didn't defend that guy, then the person will die also.
Wanting to suffer life so much, just like they say, suffering is better than just dying, right? So don't let them off so easily by letting them die. Make them suffer through life. Yeah.
So the last question is, what do you think are some good alternatives to death penalty?
I think a good alternative would be not only life sentence, but as well as you can put them into corrective work order, but in terms of a life sentence, but they have to do charity work for the rest of their life and so that they give back to society, and it's more helpful because not only by cleaning the streets and repainting the walls, they can do many things to help people around the world, not just for your country as well, but for the rest of your life, you have to do this to give back to society.
Maybe the most extent would be a life sentence.
Yeah, I mean, my wife, she's from Norway, right? And when you look at the system over there, it's more to do with rehabilitation than to punish. Even if you look at prisons and things over there, it's more about how we can change a person so they can come back into society and live amongst us. Because the thinking over here is that, okay, one day maybe this person could become my neighbor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you would want to rehabilitate them, change their way of being in a society, being a nice person who you could live with and move around with and things like that.
I was thinking life sentence, but every week, one stroke of the cane. What? For the rest of your life sentence. I think that's a better punishment. And I think you would wish for the death penalty then.
And are there other alternatives that you feel will be fitting for their crimes?
Maybe watch, maybe take care of little noisy crying children every weekend.
So, majority of answers seems to be against the death penalty. And what's more, we all seem to agree that rehabilitation is the answer and not punishment. And I agree, everybody deserves a second chance. I want to know what you think. Leave it in the comments. I will read it. With that said, this has been CityJo Dharmic for Singapore One. See you.
Well, I felt that the conversation was very nuanced, right? And a lot of them, they weren't specifically for or directly for or against the death penalty.
But you know what? I'm glad that we are discussing this. It's out in the open, and it's something for us to think about thoroughly and deeply.
And actually, it's about time we're having this conversation with all of you. So thank you so much for your answers.
Thank you. Well, moving on, a study by Frontiers in Psychology concluded that 2.3% of Singapore's adult population had a lifetime diagnosis of schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders.
And you know what, Kai? I think many of us, when we think of schizophrenia, right, we think of someone with a split personality, like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, friendly one minute and then evil and violent the next, right? It's a major stereotype.
Oh, it's unfortunate, don't you think? And very misleading. In fact, it has been portrayed in movies and books in a very misleading way.
Yeah.
So according to doctors, schizophrenia is a long-term mental disorder involving breakdown in relation between thought, emotion, and behavior. This leads to faulty perception, inappropriate actions and feelings, and a withdrawal from reality into fantasy and delusion.
In our next story, CityJo Bruce chats to Margaret, who has been a caregiver to her schizophrenic husband for 13 years.
Just imagine that you are all packed up, excited, and ready to leave on a business trip, only to be told by family that you cannot go. The reason? This trip doesn't exist, and that you have not been working for the past 5 years. Such is the reality of people suffering from schizophrenia.
Margaret has been taking care of her husband who suffers from psychotic episodes for the past 13 years. She has authored the book, One Husband, Two Men. And today I'm talking to her to find out what it's like being a caregiver to someone with that condition.
Well, he was first diagnosed in 2009, 9 months from the onset of his illness. I could not accept the change I saw in him. My first reaction was, what happened to the man I married? What is all this nonsense? Obviously, I was focusing on my own feelings because I was still very career-minded then. I asked why this has to happen to me. I was angry at him. And I challenged him to show me the evidence of his hallucination and delusions. Well, that was a grave mistake I made because it set him down the path of witch hunting for something that was not there. Well, before he was ill, he's a very active person. He's into fishing, he's into diving, and he's always game on trying new stuff, even all kind of cuisines. But after he became ill, all this interest, including music, are behind him. He's also very engaging. He likes to talk a lot. But now he is increasingly engaging his delusion and hallucinations. He used to be affectionate and expressive towards me, but now is aloof. I think juggling between the role of a caregiver and a wife, knowing when to play a role of caregiver is important because I'm always his wife. Learning to deal with the fear of stigma and shame, and adjusting to the new norm of living with a man with mental illness. It's certainly a journey for all of us in the family, and including Leslie himself. I know it is hard for my husband to be focused and to be at present because the delusions and hallucination, it's always on, and it's consuming of all his energy. And for us is learning also how to move on and move forward with our lives, because we are beyond caregivers. We have our own identities. We love him, we care for him, but we cannot be overwhelmed, overconsumed that we do not have our own lives. My faith in God that powers my love for Leslie, because it helped me separate the illness from the person and love the man behind the illness. And in God, there is hope. There is hope that there is a future. And with the love of God, it lifts me above the circumstances that I'm in, that I can see beyond my circumstances and not let it bog me down, that I do not have life, because that's not what Christ is all about. I know that my boys love me. We went through a tough journey together. I want to be part of their future because there's hope also in that. And lastly, I wanted to use my caregiving experience to help others who are in similar boat as me, and also hope to build awareness in the society that there can be empathy, knowing what the illness brings upon to a family. Don't give up. There is hope. It is important to build up spiritual faith, to give you the strength, and enjoy your loved one while you can, because there is opportunity for you to enjoy them and create beautiful memories.
I know how painful and difficult it must have been for Margaret throughout these years. Let us all as a society make things easier for Margaret and other caregivers by being more understanding and empathetic towards people with mental health issues. Margaret had sacrificed her life's enjoyment to take care of her husband. That is what I call true love. This is Bruce for Singapore One.
If you are a caregiver and feel in need of support, do reach out to Caregivers Alliance. The link to their site is in our program description.
Let's move on to something lighter, shall we?
Yes.
Ready?
Yes, I am.
Oh God!
Wow. Okay. Pray. Ale. Oh, but I don't have a sword.
Air sword, just like air guitar.
Okay. Here we go. You're dead.
You know what? You cannot carry sword.
Why?
Especially the real one.
Why?
It's okay. Because you'll be caught, especially if you're carrying the real one in Singapore on the MRT.
Oh yes, that's right. That's right. But let's hope that CityJo, Vic and Chris have their swords ready for our next story on sword fighting.
Hi everyone, this is CityJo Vic And I'm CityJo Chris.
And today we are here at Bastion Hema, which is a historical fencing academy.
So if you are one of those people who's always wanted a sword fight or has a fantasy of being an anime character, this is the place for you.
Chris, are you ready to unleash your inner sword fighter?
Yes, I think so. Let's go!
Let's go!
Today here with us, we have Langley, who is the senior instructor here at Bastion.
So could you let us know what exactly is Bastion?
Here at Bastion, we teach historical European martial arts, specifically the German tradition from the 14th to 16th century.
What kind of programs does Bastion teach you specifically?
Okay, that's a good question. The regular course, we do 4 rotations of weapon systems every year. So the first rotation is Messer, which is a peasant knife. So that's a single-handed weapon system. The next weapon system that we rotate through is Spear, so pole arms, 2-handed weapon, but also have a great reach, a very, very long reach. The third one that we do is Sword and Buckler, so 2 weapons in 2 hands that requires a bit more coordination. And the last one that we do is everyone's favorite, that's why everybody joins HEMA, is Longsword. So again, 2-handed weapon system, but not as long of a reach as a pole arm, but it's 2-handed.
So this is June, and she will be teaching me the sword and buckler. Woohoo! Okay, is it hard to coordinate?
It's a little bit tricky to get used to, but overall, it's quite natural once you come to it. Yeah. Turn your wrist to face up a little bit. Okay. Yeah, no worries. When you hold the sword, that's it. So when you turn it, you want your wrist facing up.
Oh,
Yeah.
this way. I'm
Up
sorry.
that way. No worries.
I don't know what my wrist is.
It's all right. It's all right.
Right off the bat, how do you think Kristen will do with your lesson?
That's a good question.
The left.
Okay.
On top. On the left side. Left side.
Oh, left side. I can't tell my left from my right. It's okay.
Well, I think she's going to be great, right? I saw her kind of playing around with it just now. She seems like a natural. She's got the moves there. So I think we're in for a good show.
I'm a natural.
Our slogan is combat, camaraderie, and community. So we try to emphasize that you come here to learn combat, you help build camaraderie amongst each other, and you stay for the community that we have here. What we do is actually realistic. So all the things that we teach and we learn here is from historical treatises, the manuals that the old sword masters have passed down through the generations. So we don't really make anything up.
Okay, there you go. And you're all ready for your battle.
Do you think I'm gonna win?
Yes, definitely.
You hear that? You're going down, bro.
Try me.
You really thought you could win this battle.
You totally cheated.
I did not!
She cheated!
She's a sore loser. Okay, but no joke, today was really fun. One thing I learned today is that sword fighting is so much more than just randomly swinging a sword around. Yeah, it's actually like a super intricate and complex
sport.
Yeah, sport, yeah.
Well, I definitely agree, and I think I'm ready to become my own anime character with my cool storyline and my slishing, my...
And I bet she wins every fight she's in, just like she did today.
Anyways, this was CityJo Chris.
And this was CityJo Vic. If you're interested in sword fighting, please do check Bastion out.
And come on down to have a fun time.
Oh God! Okay, you become Ultraman, Transformers. But that was so cool. I have to try out the long sword.
Yeah, I liked it too, you know. I'll join you next time.
Yes, please do.
I love the sound of the clash of the swords.
Cling,
yeah.
cling, 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 cling. Cool! And if you're interested in learning from the talented instructors at Bastion Hema, we've included a link in our program description.
And finally, for today, you love to garden but live on the 8th law of Log 267. What do? Well, one way is to become part of the community garden community like the one CityJo Bruce visited in Bedok on the roof of a local car park. Let's check it out.
This multi-story car park at Block 184 Bedok North may look ordinary, but this is a car park that houses more than just cars. On the 4th level is an open space filled with plants that are grown and cultivated by the residents. This place even has a playground and a water fountain.
Oh, so because he came over this, because he said, what are you looking at? Look at bird nest. It's here.
After seeing how well the garden is tended to, I have to meet some of the people behind it.
我是阿基，然后我是热控药控伫style的，当时style拢总是先当回了无水的，拢臭，然后啊不是死，然无人压水嘛，然后会许打了好真垃圾，然后一阿伯就讲，我咱捡，咱来做，然后我慢慢捡，到今日会安尼水咯。这花啊，我暑假拢总是看了真水，伊的花什么拢总真水。当时我暑假花又暑假菜，拢总我暑假种。
所以咱 stop 平常时几个人来讲？
讲较济是我家己是会按你逐摆较济伫 style 啦。
你一个人俩？
有几来个，真是说阿伯就一阿伯伫 style，也为过身吼，你吼早起伊就来了。
Hi, I'm Nafisa. I've been staying here for 18 years since this place was built. I've recently discovered the community garden, so I decided to ask for a plot, and they gave me a plot over here. So here's it grew from 3 pots to over 20 now. I think this is a great place. Coming here actually gives me allows me the opportunity to relieve my stress from the everyday responsibilities that I juggle with work and also at home caring for my mom.
How many of you all come together each time to walk?
Mostly me and my friend. Sometimes this.
How many? Yetana?
2.
2 really? Okay. This is your friend, right?
After doing this gardening activity, we usually walk around. Sometimes we do rigorous walking where in that area.
Only walking, no jumping jack, push-up.
Earlier we used to do yoga also.
Oh, okay.
Early
Here?
mornings,
Yeah,
yes.
okay. So nice breeze and everything.
我的花园特别的地方是全部是药草来的，就好像是这个是客家人做为茶的苦力心。
哦，可以这样吃吗？
可以这样吃，比如说你的喉咙有点不舒服、痒痒的话，你可以扒它的叶子，揉成一粒药盐吞下去。对，
我现在可以 try 吗？
可以。
来5秒不？
今年赶快吃。
没有事啊。
但是你小心啊，有刺啊。
哦，还有刺的，好不好？
有刺啊。
所以要怎么样做？
要把它这样子，然后你把它揉，自己揉。
OK， 你揉给我看。
我揉哈 ，OK， 你嗅，它有很香的药草味道。
对
，OK， 你咳嗽对吗？
吃一些。
对啊，因为你咳嗽，来赶吃。
你呢？你个的心
我看再吃，来，
要不要
吞下去？不用，当药盐吞，它有一点苦苦。
Being an avid gardener with lots of plants at home, I know that lots of love and dedication was put into maintaining this extensive garden with their numerous flowering plants, herbs, and even fruit trees. I also had the opportunity to conduct a mini workshop in the care and maintenance of Hoyas, which I have lots of at home.
Because the leaves, you look at it, some of the leaves ball up into a round shape and it's empty inside. It's because it has a symbiotic relationship with plants.
Our garden is not a hotspot for Instagrammers. It is a community that makes gardening interesting and worthwhile. It is the place where people can come to plant, to exercise, to talk, and to share stories. This is Bruce for Singapore One.
You know what, Kai? It's great to see that even with limited space in Singapore, people can still find a way to get in there and get in touch with nature. Of course, you know that.
Of course,
because we've
yeah.
established you're like jungle boy, nature man. But you know, gardening has been proven to ease stress as well as being an excellent form of exercise. Because you have to bend over and you have to take the soil out or put it in and put the seed in. You can obviously tell I don't really garden that much.
Just don't hurt your back. And people, the best part, people are able to grow their own herbs and vegetables. And did you know that locally produced vegetables last longer than imported ones? So that's another plus factor. And this in general will make our community, our environment, a little bit more sustainable, don't you think?
Yes, of course. Well, on that note, it's time to go. Please join us on Friday for another episode of SG Now this week. And remember to like, comment, share, and
subscribe.
Thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.